Welcome to the 13th grade. My name's Elliot Schoner. Let's make you rich. All right, guys, thank you for joining us here back. This is, I promise you, it's going to be actually I believe it's our last lesson that's going to be tied to the mindset. If you remember, what we're trying to go over here is the mindset, how you're in earn income, leverage, investing, and then of course doing that with taxes is just sort of the things that we're going to be covering in this course. Your mindset is, as I mentioned last video, is critically important to you becoming successful, even more so than the principles. If you know the principles that have, basically, allowed people to create, generational wealth, move from nothing to something, become rich, whatever, but you don't have the mindset to put those principles into action. Quite honestly, it really doesn't matter because you have your mind has to be right because you're going to be doing contrary basically to what everyone else is doing around you. The last slide, we talked about the power of vulnerability in sort of a pain abundance curve. And just to kind of recap, because I think it's important, because it's going to tie actually a little bit into this video. But the idea there is if you're unwilling or you're able to become vulnerable, and when you become vulnerable, you get accepted from that. That sends a feedback loop that allows you to be more vulnerable. The more vulnerable you can be, the more people that are accepting you allows you to be basically your true self. It allows you to be your true self in personal relationships. It allows you to be your true self in the business room, which can lead to you making more contributions, showing people really how much knowledge you have, which then, it can mean basically means you're making impact, and that impact leads to higher positions, more income, and of course, then the income is going to contribute directly back to your wealth. However, if you are vulnerable and you get sort of negative things of that, which many of us do when we become vulnerable, you're more likely to become someone else. So think of a child that's always been told no, 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 no. They eventually stop doing. And so if you're always told no or you're always getting rejection, you end up kind of being somebody who isn't your true self because the true self that you are keeps getting rejected. And so you end up being kind of becoming someone else that can lead to silent depression. People get very depressed, very frustrated. You can be not successful in the boardroom because you're not contributing anything. You're just basically an empty chair. And that can lead to, substance abuse. It can lead to addiction. People generally try to wash that away, that frustration away, in things that kind of like to distract them. It could be video games. It could be a hobby. It could be, again, drinking, alcohol, partying, all that kind of good stuff. So what we strive for is to have good, solid relationships around us, good people around us that allow us to be vulnerable, that will give us reinforcements, that will allow us to carry forward and really become our true selves. And we understand that the pinnacle of that is once we reach a period where we just don't really care. And what I say by that, not that you don't care around people that are around you, but that you don't necessarily care about the acceptance and that you basically are just going to say, you know what? I'm unique. I'm different. I'm going to find my true self and I'm weird and I'm quirky and whatever. But my goal is not to necessarily get acceptance from all the people that are around me or anybody. My goal is to go find the 5 or 6 people that, I really will develop true relationships with, deep relationships with, and that are also quirky, weird, and odd, or just like me, right? And so when we talked about like our circle of influence, that's kind of what we're talking about. Exactly the exact same thing is if you want to be successful, you need to surround yourself with people that are just like you. And that way you can be your true self, you can be doing your mission and whatever you're trying to do, and they're doing their mission, and you're all in acceptance and you're all moving the same direction. That is so much easier to then change, like to swap out your friends instead of trying to get acceptance from people that will never accept you because they're just not on the same frequency. It's just to go find new people to hang out with. So circle of influence is very big on that. And we talked about why that basically, how that ties together and why that works. And that is because In order to be advanced, you have to be vulnerable, you have to get acceptance and so forth. So, one things that we didn't cover on that is it does go back to like why the rich continue to get richer. It's a big, big question that's out there. Is this part of the momentum gap? And what I mean by that is, if you remember in our last slide, we basically had this like triangle, right? And there's two sides that went back to it. Maybe we'll put up an edit of it here when we're editing it here, this video. But on the back side of that, I didn't cover, but it's basically the momentum gap. And the idea is that if you become vulnerable and you get reinforcements, you become more likely to be more vulnerable as you become more your true self. And as you become your more true self and you get more reinforcement of like people are accepting of that, you end up getting more and more and more. So you end up being like almost unstoppable the further you get to be the most genuine that you are. And then as you find your sort of your crew, I guess, that are just like you're basically unstoppable because you're so far from going to switch to being like, well, I was trying to be myself, but now I'm not because of whatever. And then you can kind of go down the opposite direction. The further you get away, the further that you are down your journey, it's literally almost impossible. And that's where you see some of our most amazing business leaders when they go into some place, they'll go in and people will be like, well, you can't do that. And they're like, of course I can do that. I'm firing 97 to 70% of the staff. Think of Elon Musk, right? When he came in, super bastardized for that, super got yelled at, all the kind of things. Super taboo, but he's like, I don't really care. I know who I am. I know what I need to do. He does that and the company is actually far superior, better than it is right now. And he's even more unstoppable. The next place he goes into, he's like, "No, I'm gonna go to the next thing. I'm gonna go to the next thing," and you just keep advancing. It just snowballs. So now I want to talk to you about the hardest thing, and this is going to rely into. We're going to ask you. I'm going to ask you to make some moves in your life and to do some changes in your life. And I want you to kind of understand why we do the things that we do and sort of we'll just dive into it. Every single year in January, and we're coming up on that right now as I film this. This is it is November, just closer to Thanksgiving. As we get closer to the year, all the gym memberships, everyone is going to start to advertise. Oh, come to your gym, New Year's resolution, whatever. If you go sign up for a gym in January 1st, the first thing they're going to do is one, obviously take your money. The second thing they're going to do is they're going to sign you up with a trainer or to try to get you into a program, a class, something on a track, a boot camp, whatever. And a lot of the gyms will have, hey, we're doing a Q1 boot camp for 90 days or 30 days or 60 days or whatever. It doesn't matter. And you start here and there's a big prize at the end, like whoever loses the best or makes the biggest transformation or whatever gets X, right? And so they're doing that because they're trying to get you to commit to some sort of actions. Okay. And for the most part, you don't need a whole lot of motivation to get started doing something, right? So you might go, hey, I know I'm out of weight. I got to lose a couple extra pounds. The doctor says I got to lose a couple extra pounds, or I was skinnier in high school or college and I want to get back to that, whatever it is. Like we all have their things. And so once you go into the gym, if they can get you into the one of those programs, it's just kind of a forced program, right? Like, I guess I'll show up. You're taking action. Those actions hopefully are going to get a result. And so sort of, kind of what happens is you take action, you get results. I go to the gym, I work out, 5 days a week. I'm doing the treadmill, doing whatever. And hey, in the first month, I lost 5 pounds. So the next topic I want to talk to you about, and then kind of corresponds and it ties into the pain abundance curve. So I kind of want to go over that with you. I wanted to recap on that. The if starting at the beginning of the year, and it's November or something like that now, so we're about to come up into January. In January, what happens, right? We all make New Year's resolutions, and so most of us will make the resolutions like, hey, we want to make more money, we want to travel more, we want to read more books, whatever. We want to lose weight. And so gyms know this, that people have this resolution, and they're like, I'm gonna start out January, I'm gonna work out more, or whatever. And so there's a lot of advertising that goes around about, hey, join a gym, brand special promotion, whatever. When you sign up for a gym in January, let's say you sign up January 1st, one of the first things they're going to do is they're going to try to get you into some type of training program, a boot camp, if you're a spinner, like a spin class, whatever, some kind of group class to get you committed to a program. And you'll see gyms that have this. They'll have like, oh, we're doing the first quarter, who can lose the most weight or transform their body, or maybe it's 60 days or 90 days. It doesn't really matter. But they're trying to get you into something. And the reason why is because they understand the principle that if you take action and you see results, okay, that you will continue. If you take action and you don't see results, or you don't have action at all, so there is no results, you're like less likely to continue. So the gym you've signed up for, maybe they're charging you, I don't know, $30 a month or something, right? And you sign up and you never go to the gym. When you start to see those transactions, you're probably likely to cancel that particular gym membership. They don't want that. If you go to the gym and you're not really making much progress, like you're just kind of going once or twice a day a week, by in the end of the quarter, you're not really seeing anything, you're probably going to cancel as well because you're like, you know what? I only go a couple days a week. I'm not really seeing anything. It's not worth it. I'm going to cancel it. However, if you go to the gym and they get you into one of these boot camp things and you're on there and you're going, 4 days a week, 5 days a week, whatever, it doesn't really matter, and you end up losing 5 pounds in the first 2 weeks, your mind's going to be like, huh, yeah, this works. I did something. I got a good result from that. And so I think I'm going to keep doing that. Part of the reason, part of the reason why that is because um, when you take action and you get results, and there's a positive result from that, in that maybe you lose weight, so you feel a little bit better about yourself. Maybe your spouse comes to you and says, "Hey, you lost a couple weights, you look good," or a coworker or something like that. That sends endorphins into your mind, and you're like, "Oh, I like that." Think of our last thing. I like that acceptance, right? If we all want to be accepted and approved of or whatever, for the most part. I like that acceptance. I'm going to continue to keep doing that. And it ends up being a feedback loop of I'm going to create action, I'm going to get results. The results are going to make me feel good, or I'm doing something, I'm getting the result I wanted, so I'll continue to do that thing because the results are there. Great. If you go to the gym and you do the results and you sign up for a boot camp and you're doing all of that, but you're not really getting results, you're just not likely to continue. For all of you that are out there like, well, I would still do it, we're talking generals here. Actions equal results. What's even more important than action that equals results is immediate results. So if you've ever heard somebody and they said, "Hey, when you're making a plan, right? And let's say your goal is to save $1 million by the time you're 40 years old, right? It's really not a good goal. A better goal would be to, like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to save $100 a week. And if I can save $100 a week, and I can smaller bites, right? And then I can get that $100 a week and I can put it into something and I can see a return on it, or I see a result of it, I'm more likely to continue. If I do something and I get a result, which is accomplishment of like, hey, I did something, like I've saved $100, I checked off that box, and maybe you go to a calendar and you check off the box or whatever. Well, that's not, it's a result of like, yes, I saved, but it's like an action. Okay. So it's like I did something, I got a reward. I did something, I like when we were kids, I got a little gold star, or I got a smiley face. They do this. My sons do this all the time. They come home, they're like, I got a smiley face today, or I got a three, or whatever. They're doing that because they're asking them to do something, behave, and they behave, and then they get smileys. And then if they get so many smileys, they get to pick something out of the treasure box or something. Actions, results. So a lot of times in business, they'll say, hey, let's not make these big lofty goals of like reduce revenue by 50%. They say, hey, let's make a goal of reduce revenue by 2% in the first quarter. And if we do that, then we're going to get this reward. And so they break that up into smaller things. And the reason why that's important is because making small little gains keeps you in the game, because you're like, I'm making progress, things are happening, and you kind of see it and you feel it, and you're like, okay, I can see I'm progressing to this particular thing. If you lose 5 pounds in the first 2 weeks, and then you lose 5 pounds in the second, another 2 weeks, and then you're continuously losing weight, you're more motivated to go. where people actually get frustrated in the gym is they usually lose a lot of weight and then they get to a period where there's not much happening and then they stop and they quit because they're like, why am I taking on all of this pain for no pleasure? The pleasure is usually the result. So action equals results. And a better way I want you to think about that is pain equals pleasure. I'm willing to take on this pain to get this particular pleasure. And that pleasure is obviously registered in your mind. So that's also your mindset. So why does this relate to financing? The way that it relates to financing and the problem that it relates to financing is when you're in it doing something like a gym or you're doing something like that, your actions and your results are kind of immediate, right? And so when you do something like immediacy is not like right now, but immediacy is like if you go to the gym and you start dieting and you're in the gym 4 or 5 days a week, you are going to lose weight. Your results are going to be felt. Like at the end of the week, you'll be like, oh man, I lost a pound. Like, oh, at the end of the month, like, oh, I lost 6 or 7 pounds. Like you're getting immediate results. That is super effective into having you continue. In finance, and in wealth building and in saving, unfortunately, the results aren't immediate. And it's not even that they're not immediate. Like they're so far from immediate that it's like distant, right? They're like a gazillion years away. And so there's a problem there. And so where most people have struggle is they say, okay, I'm going to take on this pain. Elliot says to me, I go live frugal. I shouldn't go out as much. I shouldn't, Uber eats food to me. I should brown bag stuff. I should, whatever. And you're like, I'm going to save $100 a week. So I'm going to save, $400, $500, depending on how many weeks are in the month. But I'm going to save about $400 or $500 a month. And I'm going to take that and I'm going to put it into an IRA. So I'm going to max out my IRA or put $6,000 a year in an IRA. And I'm going to put that into an index fund. And I'm going to get a nice 8 to 10% return over the years. And that's going to amount to something at some point in time, 45 years from now. And so to have $500 that you're not spending, you're taking on pain to do that because you're not doing something, you're doing something else with it. That's the action. I'm saving. The result, financial freedom, generational wealth, a great retirement, financial security, financial stability, all of that doesn't come for a very long period of time, especially for the most of Americans that take sort of what I call the Dave Ramsey approach to financing, where it's slow and it works over the course of like 40 years. There are results that you can get sort of immediate. If you think of like the snowball method from Dave Ramsey, he says, hey, pay your smallest credit card first and then pay your next largest credit card and your next largest credit card. And as you pay your small credit card, the money that was using to pay for your small credit card goes to your next credit card and you snowball. So when you start tackling the larger balance, you're putting more money towards it. You're seeing the balance go down. The reason why that method works, regardless, because the correct way to do it would be to pay the highest interest rate down because that's the one that's costing the most money. The snowball method works because you're tackling these smaller debts and it gives you a sense of accomplishment and results. So again, in financing, it doesn't work that way. And so to even compound the issue even more, I'm going to go to you and I'm going to say, listen, I need you to go do these things, take on this pain. I want you to live uncomfortable now so you can live comfortable later on down the road. Got it? I want you to take on this pain now so you can have this pleasure 40, 45 years from now. And so you're going to take on that pain initially in this program. And you might go like, I'm going to live frugal. I'm going to do all these things. If your circle of influence is not with you, right? That's why we covered circle of influence. If your circle of influence is not with you on this plan, you're going to fail because there's too much peer pressure. Because what's going to happen is you're going to be at work or you're going to be out with your friends and they're going to say, hey, let's all go do this thing. Let's go out to lunch every single day at work. Let's just go out to this nice restaurant for your birthday. We'll get appetizers. We're going to get drinks. We're going to go all high end, whatever. Let's go for the weekend up to this. Let's go do this thing. Hey, I just bought a brand new BMW. You're still driving the Toyota because you're living frugal. So you sacrifice all these things and you're living frugal and you're trying to earn and then invest instead of earn and consume, a topic we'll get into later. And everyone around you is living this earn and consume lifestyle, racking up their credit cards, doing whatever. You are going to stop getting the acceptance, like we just covered in the pain of abundance curve. You're going to stop getting the acceptance because they're going to be like, hey, you want to go out this weekend? You're like, no, man, I just, I don't have the funds. You probably come up with something else, but I don't have the funds. I can't go. And eventually, what happens is those individuals that you want acceptance from, or that you want to hang out with, or that you want enjoyment from, end up not hanging out with you. They don't invite you anymore because they know you're just the person that brown bags it and sits in the cafeteria by himself in the corner eating your, peanut butter and jelly sandwich or your leftovers or whatever. You never go out to Chipotle or to whatever to eat. And so you become isolated and individualized. That can be very difficult because what happens is, you might start going, okay, that's fine. Like they're just spending their money, whatever. But over time, you take on pain, 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 but there's never a result. A result's not coming. So I want you guys to be very clear. Results aren't coming for a long time. In some cases, the results can be quicker, like 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. You can see some success in the first year, whatever things are happening. But the success that you're looking for, the definition of rich and wealthy and generational wealth, where I can drive a nice car, I can have a beautiful house, I can take vacations, I can travel on the world, I can put my kids in private institutions, I can do all of that. The things that you see on Instagram, people have a nice watch, a nice whatever, and all that stuff that's enticing to you, all that you identify as being rich or wealthy, it's not coming. It's not coming. Which, on a side note, is actually why it is very dangerous. Some of the people that are out there on Instagram and they're like, hey, sign up for my course. Let's do day trading. Give me $1,000. Take on pain by giving me money. And I'm going to give you an amazing lifestyle. Look, I'm in a Lamborghini. Look, I have all those types of stuff. And you're thinking, if I do this, I'm going to be rich next week. I'm going to start making rich next week. And so you're willing to do that. But the one that goes, hey, do this, and I'll see you in 45 years, you're like, that sucks. Why would I want to do that? In financing, to get back to it, in financing, actions equals results, but a very long period of time. There's no immediate. And so, what you need is the mindset. Remember, action. I go work out a bunch and I lose weight. I get a result by losing weight. I'm going to feel really good about myself. My brain's going to feel good because I'm getting, I'm getting compliments from people or whatever. And that continues that feedback loop. So I'm gonna go do more action to get more results, and I'm gonna continue that feedback. And if I'm continuing to work out, and I continue to lose weight, and I'm continuing people love it, I'm gonna make this. This is gonna continue forever, right? It's an amazing feedback loop. Vulnerability. If I'm vulnerable and people say, hey, thank you for being vulnerable, and I get rewarded for that, I take an action, being vulnerable, I get results. People say, hey, thank you for that vulnerability. Thank you, keep contributing. That's positive mind. Hey, I should continue to keep doing that. That worked out. I'll continue to do that. If I'm vulnerable and I get a bad result, or I don't like the result is, my mind's sad, I don't do that anymore. Right? Got it. So you can start to see actions equals results. Actions equals results. Results changes the frame of your mind. Your mind is what creates you and makes you want to do action. One of the things that that is the true privilege of the wealthy. So, the theme of my book, If I Was Your Dad, the idea here is that if you come from a family that has wealth, has generational wealth, or your parents are good in financial literacy. So what my kids are going to learn and understand actually right now is better than what most people I see even at 35, 40 out there on the internet. The reason is because I'm giving my children something else. And if you remember from the pain abundance curve, we can kind of get confidence or the ability to do things through education, through study, or through wealth itself, right? Those things will allow you to go take actions. I'm giving my kids knowledge that um, because of them seeing me doing it every single day. So my kids come to me and they're like, Dad, you just bought a Ferrari. Like, how much was that? Right. And they'll say things like, why doesn't, like, how do I get a Ferrari? Or why doesn't my friend have a Ferrari? Or, and I'll say to them, like, oh, well, this is what I had to do. And so when we were doing a house flip or something like that, we might go to them and say, hey, come with us. We bought this house for this amount. So now we're going to paint it. This costs us this amount. And then we'll sell it and we'll say, and they'll be like, oh, how much did you make for that? Like, oh, I made, $80,000. And my kid's already at age 7, like $80,000. Okay, well, that means I could buy a half of your car. And I'm like, no, son, it's your math isn't good. The car's, 280,000. They're like, okay, so I would need to do 3 houses to get to. So like they're already computing to that. The purpose is that they're seeing actions equals results, right? When I'm putting money into their custodial IRAs right now, they're starting to save. We're buying stocks and stuff they like. They like Elon Musk a lot because they think he's cool and they like the Tesla Cybertruck and so forth. So I can tell them like, "Will you own Tesla now?" And they can see when Tesla goes up, like they're making a little bit of money. So they're seeing results that their parents have now from actions we took 45 years ago or 10 years ago, right? And so we're giving them a gift of security in that that's all they'll know. So their mindset isn't going to be, oh, I should go do this, 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 because we've shown them if you want a Ferrari, this is what mom and dad did. They're seeing the end results. When you're on Instagram and you're seeing these guys that have a lot of money, whatnot, day trading, whatever, you're seeing a result, nice car, nice watch, nice house, whatever. What you're not seeing is what the action they took to get to that. Now they'll sell you an action that, oh, you can just day trade, whatever. Most of that's fake. I understand that. When you see a rich person, you're not seeing, oh, well, they went to school or they went to be a doctor for you're going school for 12 years to be a doctor. Then they worked 70 hours a week and then they invested all their money and they went through pain and all of that. And now they live on a $2 million house on the beach in Key West and they're living their life. You just look at the end result. My kids will see both the actions that we're taking and the end results, and it's constantly being reinforced. So I'm giving them something that the average person wouldn't give them, of course, knowledge along the way, but they're actually seeing how we're doing it. So by the time they're 15 or 20, they're going to be like, oh, I remember when we didn't do these things and how we can do these things. I remember my parents when they built the company and what they did. Like they're seeing all of that, right? This is what your circle of influence does. And so the reason why I say it's so important for you to have a very strong circle of influence is one, as you take on action, as you take on pain, right, to get results that aren't coming, if you're hanging around people that are also frugal, that are also looking to build wealth, when you're like, hey, I'm not going out, they'll say to you, hey, smart move. Actually, they won't even ask you out on Friday. They might say something like, hey, we're going to enter a 5K for a charity. Do you want to come? Or, hey, do you want to go boating down? Free stuff. We want to go boating or kayaking. Free stuff. Hey, we're going to go look at, movies on the lawn or whatever down in the local community, whatever amphitheater, whatever. We watch stuff for free. They center themselves around living frugal, doing things for free, or so forth. If you're with a circle of influence, a circle of friends, and you went to them and you said, hey, good news, I just bought a brand new $65,000 BMW, and let's say you're 25, not only would they look at you and they would say, well, how does that fit in with what you're trying to do? They would think it's really weird. They probably will disown you from their circle because you don't meet what they're trying to do. If you go online, you'll actually notice there's whole groups of people. There's like Dave Ramsey people, there's like Grant Cardone people. We're going to get into this in a second. There's just different kinds of people. Some people live a lifestyle where they're like, oh, we're going to drive a Toyota Corolla for till it has, 600,000 miles on it. It's got to be 20 years old and I have to buy it in cash and it has to be in, and they live this super frugal and they all are bound together. And if you go as an outsider and you're like, hey guys, have you ever thought like interest rates on car notes are actually 0%? So why would you put down, $65,000 in cash when the S&P index funds are giving 30% returns right now? Car notes at zero. Why wouldn't you just take the loan out and put that in an index fund? Like you try to go into something different, talk to them about giving debt. It's like you're like a space monster, right? They don't even understand it because their circle of influence is about frugality, not taking out debt, not carrying debt, never using credit cards, never doing whatever. That's their circle. And so if you find their circle as you're in there and you're taking actions, hopefully your circle of influence isn't just all people of your age. Hopefully your circle of influence has some people that are, you know, I don't know, maybe they were $4 or $5 million, but you are where they were 20 years ago. And they'll say to you, bro, you're taking on the exact same, you're doing the exact right things. Look what I got. You're doing the exact right things. And so they're going to be encouraging you, and that makes you're taking your actions and not seeing results a heck of a lot easier. Okay. So surrounding yourself with like-minded people that are all going the same direction is very, very important. This is actually works, and we'll go to the side. I'm doing the was it the weave, the Donald Trump weave. This is the side of in personal relationships. A lot of personal relationships don't work out because they're on just two completely different frequencies. Let's say you get a husband or wife, it doesn't really matter which one. One person wants to bury down, make a bunch of money, save as much as they possibly can because they want to buy a house. The other person's like, I don't really care. I don't ever need to buy a house. I'll just rent. And heck, I want to just be here for 6 months and then go overseas and then just go live frugal and backpack. I'm going to spend all of our money. I'm going to work for the rest of my life. I don't ever want to retire. And the other guy's like, I want to save, invest, and buy a house and put in 401k. And they're two completely different. It doesn't work because the person that wants to party is going to be looking, or want to party, but the person wants to live that different lifestyle is going to be looking at the person going like, you're saving or whatever. This is not fun. I don't want to do this. This isn't, all my friends are doing this, whatever. And the person that's wanting to spend or the person that's trying to save it, whatever, is going to look at this person and be like, they're reckless, they're inconsiderate, they're not looking out for our family and our overall well-being, they're not looking at the future, whatever. Completely different. They don't work. So your circle of influence is their family members, it's the friends you hang out with, it's the mentors that you pick, it's the relationships. You should have a circle of influence for your daily life, like who your close friends are. Those should all be people that like to do the same things that you do. In this case, maybe frugal things, maybe things are saved that are like free and things like that. You should have a circle of influence for your personal relationships, like who you date, like that should be someone that matches. In your family, the people in your family, we all have big families. Some of them are close to, some are not. You should be centered around yourself, around people that in your family that also think the same way that you do. And then in business, if you want to be a 9 to 5er and do that. If you want to be in your investing, you want to go for dividends or real estate or whatever, your business circle of influence, like you need people like in real estate, they should be in your circle of influence. You want to do real estate, dividends, do dividends. You don't want to go have people that are looking to save, invest, and build wealth, and they're all doing stocks and you're doing real estate. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't combine because you're not offering them something, they're not offering you something. It's combative, right? So you want to find your crew, your people. Very, very important. If you do, those people are going to give you, just like my kids are going to have the privilege of knowledge and of seeing their parents do it. You'll have the knowledge because you'll have people that are ahead of you, and they'll say to you, "Oh, like the guy that owns, like we have, 40 or 39 rental properties now. The person has 39 rental properties, looks back at the guy that's buying their first one, and they go, hey, this is what I did. This is exactly what you should do. And I remember when I bought my first one, I tell you, I bought my first property. We are like, oh my God, so nervous. The second year, we bought three. The second year was 10. And and so when someone's telling you those types of things, you're like, okay, man, I just got to get my first one. Like you're motivated. If you're around somebody and they're like, ooh, rental properties are dangerous. You shouldn't do that. Like just put in an S&P index fund. You never get started, right? So you got to have the right people. A good rule of thumb is find the person that you want to be 10 years from now and be their friend, right? Find the person that you want to grow with over the next 10 years and let that be your significant other. Find the people where you want to be. That's who you want to be. Find some people, maybe if you have 6 or 7 people around you, 50% of them should be, far above you, a little bit, maybe kind of just a little bit before you, and some maybe a couple right where you are. Like you have a friend you're going to go do trenches with, and you're going to go, arbitrage on Amazon or on eBay or something like that. You have that buddy that goes, you guys go do that. But then you got to have the guys that's a little bit higher than that. That's all we're going to cover for today. Oh, so the last part, and this is important. Another really, really, really big motivator of taking action in finance is if you remember the pain, the pleasure, right? So if you take an immense amount of pain, it can also change your mindset. Pain and pleasure dictate your mindset. So if you're doing something, you get a result. People give you like, hey, you're losing weight. That's happiness. That continues it. If you get a lot of pain, that'll make you not do something as well. A lot of people get a lot of times in credit card debt. They lose their job. They find themselves in basically overall financial ruin. That can motivate somebody pretty big to make big changes in their life. If somebody is a single mom or something like that, maybe they get divorced, single parent, single mom, single dad, doesn't matter. And all of a sudden they find themselves like, oh, I have to provide for this person and I have to provide it for myself. Think of a tragic in the family, loss in the family or something. That's a pretty big motivator. It's the mind that we're trying to change that's going to create the action. So I just want to bring that up a little bit. One, because it's on a slide, but it's important because pain and pleasure is what changes your mind. Your mind's what drives actions. The actions drive results, and the results is what causes pain and pleasure. And it's that feedback loop. If you're in a positive feedback loop, you are going to continue to grow. If you're in a negative feedback loop, you're going to continue to go in the opposite direction and you can go as low as you can possibly go. That's the difference. The biggest indicator is to make the right actions so you get the all right results, which adds the positive, which makes you keep going. And how do you do that? By surrounding yourself with people that are like-minded, that are either at where you are in your life, going the same direction, or where you want to be 10 years down the road, that are mentoring you and pulling you along and telling you, just stay focused. You'll be where I'm in 10 years. Thank you.